For more on combating extremism around the world, let me turn to Sajjan Gohel, who joins us from London. He's an international security director for the Asia Pacific Foundation, an expert on global security and geopolitical issues. Sajjan, welcome on the program. I want to begin by asking you a very obvious question that a lot of us have been talking about lately. Should there be a distinction between the religion of Islam and the terrorists' extremist ideology, certainly far from the teachings of the Quran?
It's very important to draw those distinctions because if you look at terrorist groups like ISIS, they take huge relish in killing Muslims and non-Muslims alike. They have deviated from the Quran, from the Hadith. They have introduced their own warped, apocalyptic interpretation. And they use it at their convenience, very often reinterpreting the Quran, which in itself is un-Islamic. And the key is that people understand how ISIS is reinterpreting its faith and its doctrine, because otherwise it tends to lead to confusion, misunderstandings, and a rise in ethnic and religious tensions.
How much have the terrorists, whether it's Boko Haram, the Al-Nusra Front, ISIL, how much are they to blame for distorting the religion of Islam, Sajjan? And this issue isn't just about Islam. Take Christianity, for example. The Ku Klux Klan burns crosses and preaches hate in the name of Jesus Christ.
It is a great tragedy that any group, any entity wishes to use religion as a justification to kill people. And very often we have seen in Iraq and Syria, in the case of ISIL or ISIS or whichever group they wish to brand themselves as, they have killed women and children. Often they have been Muslims themselves. Huge mass graves have been found across Syria and Iraq in places like Fallujah, Ramadi, Sinjar province. There have been a whole spate of disturbing events where the use of violence has been carried out. Ultimately, it comes down to power. ISIL is not just a terrorist group, they're a criminal enterprise as well that seeks to make money, seeks to control people and keep them under their thumb effectively. And as they lose more territory and more control, their attempts to carry out more attacks will probably become more obvious.
But how? Why have they been so successful in their recruiting efforts? Is this about lack of hope among the recruits, lack of education? What is this about?
Well, very often there's been this perception that the people that get radicalized, that join terrorist groups like ISIL, are discriminated or have lack of education. That may apply to a small degree, but the majority of people that have joined the group, especially from the West, have been educated, they have jobs, families, they've studied at university, yet they choose to give that all up. A lot of them, unfortunately, are motivated by the propensity to violence and misogyny. They get attracted by this power perception, this power projection that ISIS wanted to create, that they are the only transnational entity that can create the so-called caliphate. They can control swathes of territory. It's often down to also propaganda. ISIL was very good at visualizing its agenda, using new media as its oxygen of publicity, and that became a very attractive, toxic, appealing brand to those type of people that are potentially constituents to that warped thinking.
Sajjan Gohel, always a pleasure. Thank you so much.